I will say this rivalry goes harder than any other rivalry that Alabama has.
65 yards, Gerald Dixon.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Marvin.
Y'all know what it is.
Back at
baby.
it, constantly smoking. You didn't have to do all that with all that taking your cutoff shirt and flexing your arms and doing all that. But go ahead, man. The fans are ready for you to introduce and start us off. Go ahead.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, family nation, baby. Welcome to another episode of Constantly Smoking. I'm here with my brother, the one and only Coach Gerald Smoke. Baby gun Dixon, baby.
Oh, baby guns. It's okay. You got the big boy guns. Keep going.
Oh, man. But again, we're here for another phenomenal episode. Listen, we have a lot of topics to address, on the heels of Houston doing the job last night, baby. Hey,
You must have won some money.
I didn't win any money, man, but I really thought Duke was going to pull that game out, man. So to see Houston pull that thing out the way they did, man, and then to see Florida take care of business. So little brother down the road can't say nothing about nothing. But yesterday was a good day. What you got for me, brother?
Man, since you're talking about those boys down the road and all that other stuff, we're going to touch on some coaches in the daggone headlines. Kirby and Brian Kelly. They've been running their mouth a little bit, both of them, but they both have some interesting stuff to do. Along the way with that, we're going to highlight the receiver room at the capstone that we love. And also at the end of this, Marvin, our head coach, Kalen DeBoer, press conference for the second scrimmage, gave us a little bit of information that we really need in terms of the wide receivers, tight ends, running backs, but also he's giving us a little insight on how the game's going to get played this year. All right? So we're going to start off first with your favorite, Kirby Smart. Earlier this week, Kirby Smart went on, and I'll just go ahead and paraphrase it real quick. And he talked about his need of not having a general manager, but also not having a general manager. He's running into issues such as his own players getting in the transfer portal. There are several times that he's been asked to come on Zoom calls with agents, and these agents are having players from other teams that they're representing that aren't necessarily in the portal yet. And he feels like there's times that some of those players are even on his own team. Now, Marvin, me being an old general manager myself at the University of Maryland with Coach Loxley, when you have situations like that, that's the importance of having a general manager. The general manager is there to intervene and get and manage the process that you, the head coach, don't necessarily need to handle. That's roster construction. Along with roster construction, I'm dealing with agents. I'm also going to deal with contracts and on the day-to-day situation, along with who needs to be on scholarship, who we're trying to remove. But one of the things that happens is when you're a coach, your emotions get involved. I'm a general manager. My emotions not going to get involved because I am only looking at who and what the situation is that's best for the football team, not necessarily what's best for me, the head coach. And when you recruited these young players, gone into their homes, spent time with them for 3 to 4 years, you're invested in them. I'm not. I'm a bottom line guy. I'm here just solely for the production. And I'm trying to put together the best team for the university of whoever I'm representing. For now, it's Georgia if I was the general manager of Georgia. So for Kirby, I wouldn't allow Kirby to go into those meetings with those agents and having the information of saying there's 3 or 4 players on your own team that necessarily want to get in the portal and you don't know what to do. Now, my job is to go into those readings, sit down, get notes, come back with the information and give it back to you so we can make the proper decision. What's your thoughts on this, Marvin?
Well, like you said, the head coach, he should be so much further removed from this process because he has bigger, more important things to worry about, especially when it comes to dealing with agents. And, the agent's always going to come in the player's best interest. I mean, let's look at the NFL model. The head coaches don't talk to agents. The owners, the front office person, he'll talk to agents.
Your cap guy does, and your general manager helps with that situation. He talks to the agents.
So why would you want it any different in college? And, here's the thing about it that I've noticed, with a few coaches in college football, They refuse to accept change. Let's look at Dabo Sweeney, Coach Sweeney. I'm not taking a player from the portal. You can continue to resist this process all you want to, but at the end of the day, it will be reflected in the product you put on the field. And again, in Kirby's case, I live in Atlanta, so they're often on the news being highlighted for the discipline issues with that team. How many arrests, speeding to like you have to do something to rein this team in at this point.
Well, Marvin, just touching on the arrest, there's some players that they've gone into the transfer portal and got. And those players, they haven't shown up and they haven't played, lack production. So when you pay players to get into the portal, sign them out of the portal, and they're not producing, it's called dead money. But along with the evaluation of their physical skill set, you also need to do an evaluation of their character. And when you have a general manager that set up the personnel department, their job is to give you the information for you to help to make that proper decision. Therefore, you're going to miss on that if you're only sitting there relying on your coach's information. Coaches know coaches, coaches talk to coaches, coaches lie to coaches, right? So that part of it is where I know that's where you need a general manager. There's too much money involved. There's too many moving parts for not having a general manager for a top-notch organization like the University of Georgia, because it ain't a school anymore. These players are getting paid. Coaches are getting paid. You have to have it everything set up in order for you to have success. And right now, Georgia's not looking so well.
What Kirby has to understand is the invention of the camera phone and social media killed the days of things being the way they used to in terms of kids going out doing whatever and then it getting swept under the rug, in terms of kids creating value for themselves. So again, they are the masters of their own destiny at this point, and there's not much that he can do to control that. So why not have someone in the middle who can facilitate that relationship, just providing to you what you need to know when you need to know it? You got more important stuff to go worry about.
Right. The days of the head coach raising money, doing every home visit, and also assigning players to receive the money. We all know that used to happen. Them days are done. And I think the faster you evolve, the better you get. Nick Saban, resisted it. Coach Sweeney resisted. I don't think you have to go all out and do everything that everybody else is doing, but I do believe that you have to evolve with the new process that's happening because it's not going anywhere. It's here to stay. General manager here to stay. Look what Andrew Luck out there at Stanford did. He's the first general manager that fired a head coach and hired a head coach. I think that's the way this game is getting moved. And I don't think it's ever going to change where the head coach is not in charge. I think Kirby's always going to be in charge of his organization, and he should be. Whoever makes the most money, Marvin, that's who's going to be in charge. And he's making 14. The general manager is not going to make 14 million. So Kirby's always going to be in charge of his operation. He just now needs to delegate some of the responsibilities that he needs to make sure that his program goes in the right direction and get the better players.
Well, he's going to have to do something because, again, the SEC has gotten more competitive. It is, you're looking at, hands down, it's going to be a tough sled from here on out in the SEC with these 16 teams. So you need consistency and continuity with your team. So what do you put in place? Like you said, the general manager, roster construction, put guys together that can bond, that will work well together. Because the last thing you want is a kid coming in who's not going to bond with your team. And like you said, that's dead money. So, and you want to understand what their mental is, their physical is, their character is. As a head coach, do you really have time to do all that on high school recruits, guys in the portal? It's too many moving parts right now for him to be involved in that process.
Right. Well, Marvin, we're going to stay a little bit more in the SEC. We're going to go to the SEC West, to your favorite head coach, Brian Kelly. You called me earlier this week, Marvin. Upset, really pissed off as I was driving home from the office. And you started telling me about Brian Kelly taking shots at Alabama. Now, often when you take shots, you must have a loaded gun with a lot of good ammunition in it. And these good ammunition I'm talking about, you should be a national championship type of coach.
Smoke.
You should be a coach that goes to a school and make it better, not worse. If you go to DBU, and I'm speaking of LSU, defensive U, football U, Bama's true competition in the SEC West in the last few years, we haven't seen any of that. So, Marvin, why is Brian Kelly taking shots at the University of Alabama?
He doesn't even have a loaded gun. He has a cracked water gun. Listen, man, he got nothing, man. You know, to say what Alabama acts like they invented college football. They act like they run the SEC. Let's look at it. Coach Saban, what did he do at LSU? What did he do?
Rings and things.
What did Les Miles do at LSU?
Won a championship.
What did Ed Orgeron do at LSU?
Won a championship. So hold on, Marvin. Ho. I'm not the wisest guy. Are you telling me the last 3 head coaches at LSU, they've all won a championship within 4 years? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, keep going then.
And what has Brian Kelly done besides piss down his leg in his own boots? Not a damn thing. So when you decide to take shots at Alabama, I'm gonna need you to look at your own resume. Look at the way we put that foot to ass when you were at Notre Dame. Look at the way we put foot to ass while you in Baton Rouge. You got 1 win against Bama because you had Jaden Daniels and some nice receivers. But again, it's Jaden Daniels. The kid is excellent. Now,
yeah, Jaden Daniels did the same thing in the NFL with the Washington Commanders. He's a heck of a player.
So, outside of that, what have you done at LSU besides turn them into a middle-of-the-road team?
Middle of the road on defense, middle of the road in terms of winning. So let me check this. Has he been to the playoffs? No. I'm going to say no. Did he have a Heisman Trophy winner? Yes. Did he have a Heisman Trophy winner, the 2nd overall pick, and 2 top 10 receivers on that team?
Yeah.
Did he have 2 tackles? What's with my man Will Campbell, the left tackle? Will he get drafted? Not maybe. He's going to be the first offensive lineman taken in the NFL draft this year. And Emory Jones, the right tackle, is also going to get drafted. So long story short, you have players. It's LSU. And I think when you are a head coach and you are struggling to sustain success over a long period of time, or even say keep the standard of winning from the last 3 head coaches, you might want to mind your own business and take care of what you need to take care of, and that's in-house. Find a way to not lose Bryce Underwood to Michigan in the 11th hour, one of the best quarterbacks in the country, number 1 player ranked by 24/7 Sports last year. You might want to make sure that you're hiring the right defensive coordinators so your defense don't look like hot knife running through butter. You might want to make sure that Garrett Nussmeier is protected and you can run the football a lot better. And you can beat a Bama team that we're both going to say wasn't the best Bama team last year. So I'm not really interested in coaches taking shots at other programs because you are the leader of your football team. And when you do that, you're giving your players a reasoning for doing the same thing too. And, Marvin, we're always taught to talk with our pads and let our action do the speaking. But I don't know if that's being said down in LSU, down in Baton Rouge.
Well, one of the things about it, man, again, had he at least won an SEC championship, had he at least done anything of significance, he'd have.
Marvin, he went to the game, though. That don't count?
Hell no, that don't count. What Ricky Bobby say, if you ain't first, you're last. Listen, man. Listen. You lost the SEC championship. Okay, you made it, but you lost. Again, what has he done of significance? Again, did he win a championship at Notre Dame?
No, he went there. Bama rolled up on him. Eddie Lacy and the boys got after him.
Listen, okay. We get it. Your middle linebacker was dating a fake girlfriend, but that had nothing.
Marvin, time out. Where's the flag at? Right here. Listen, stop it. I'm gonna throw the flag. Manti can't be catching those strays, bro. Leave him alone. This ain't a man. We ain't going on Manti. This is a Brian Kelly conversation. Manti has nothing to do with it. His girlfriend
as a
his love
former,
relationship, he's come back from that, Marv. He's battled back. That's
I'm just
years
saying,
ago.
as a former middle linebacker, ain't no way in hell I got a fake girlfriend. I need to see you date
Marvin
every other
statute.
day. Now,
Listen,
I'm just saying, statute. Listen, man,
stats.
it tells you the
It's
personality
10
of a
years. The
team.
statute. We're not
Fake
even going. It's
girlfriends,
ran out.
fake girlfriends, fake championships. I mean, fake everything. Okay, let's just call it what it is. Notre Dame was the team of college football at the time. All right, now you come to the SEC and you want to run your mouth, BK. Remember what your grandma always used to tell you: don't write a check that your ass can't cash. BK, I think you writing some checks that you might find yourself in a situation on, my friend.
Well, he's still writing checks. Marvin, he even dumped some of his salary into the pool of his collective to now get a better team. So let's just sit back and watch what happens in this 2025 season. Now,
if he a
Marvin.
head coach, nothing gonna damn happen. It's Brian Kelly.
Now, we touched on
really
both of these
happen?
coaches, but we also need to touch on
Hold on,
Kirby
time out.
Smart's
I ain't done
next
with you
comment.
yet.
Go ahead.
Hold on. You leave Notre Dame. What does Marcus Freeman do? He takes Notre Dame to what?
Championship game
What
in a
did he
couple of
get?
years.
Exactly. That's my whole point.
So you're saying one place went up and LSU went up as well too? Up that way though.
They went to the basement, to the toilet. Listen, man.
They went up to the basement.
Marcus Freeman took Notre Dame to the playoffs. Won his first playoff game.
Coach Freeman's a heck of a coach, bro.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Upgrade. So, Brian Kelly, you probably did Notre Dame a favor.
Marvin, I'm not gonna sit here and say BK is not a good coach. He's a good coach. He just needs to
shut up,
slow down, leave Bama alone. Let Bama figure out Bama, and he needs to figure out LSU.
Because he's on borrowed time. If he has a dismal season this year, might be his last in Baton Rouge.
All right, Moot, we got this good question from one of our viewers. Go ahead.
What's the balance with the head coach and GM? Who's the boss? Does it depend on the situation? Or I'm gonna assume the or is egos.
Yeah, I can answer that. So here's the balance. And one of the reasons why Coach Loxley and I worked well together is because I understood and he understood the balance of it. Like, it's a head coach's team. My job as a general manager is to make sure that I recruit and sign the players that he wants through the vision of his eyes, because he's the one that knows what he wants his team to look like. So if you think about it as a painter or an artist, if I'm buying artwork from Marvin, that's an artist. I'm going to tell Marvin, this is what I want, but I'm not going to tell Marvin how to do it. Right? So when you're the general manager and you have to balance the roster and construct the roster in the right way, you and the head coach need to be able to sit down and have hard conversations, great disagreements, but at some point, someone has to make the decision. Now, if it's a decision that the head coach needs to make, that's where I step back and say, hey, you know what, Coach Locks? This is on you. Okay? But if it's a decision that pertains more to the personnel side that he trusts me to make, he'll say, Smoke, go ahead. We've had conversations and arguments that lasted 20, 30 minutes, but we never once disrespected each other, and we always respected each other's mind, and we also respected that we were both really, really good at our jobs. He allowed me to be the general manager and manage the personnel department. He managed the coach's side, but he's always was in charge of the entire operation of the University of Maryland. So long story short, Kirby needs to get someone that he trusts, that he can work with, that he respects. And at the end of the day, he's always the boss. And the last thing, and I'm going to say, the reason why some of these situations in terms of head coaches and general managers don't work, because the simple word of ego. When you walk into a room and everybody wants to be the toughest guy, the biggest guy, the one that says my final word is the reason why we're going to win, that's when you start losing, and that's when the head coach starts trusting you, or the general manager stops trusting the head coach. But when you go into a room and the belief is that we want to have the best team, because this team is our team, not my team, not your team, it's our team, and you're working together as a team, like you're preaching to the players, that's when you get your best results. Marvin, got another question from Eric King.
FYI, though, Smoke, if you buy artwork for me, I only paint pit bulls and grizzly bears.
That's fine. Then if I don't want pit bulls and grizzly bears, I ain't gonna come shopping with you. Go ahead, Jess. We got another one.
What do you think about Alabama? What do you think Alabama will look like this season? Will players buy into the standard? Here's the thing about that, man. Before you touch it, Coach, we've seen so many players this offseason speaking about buying in. We got to buy in. We got to buy in. Listen, man, that whole buy-in process it's there's a pre-buy-in. It's like you have regular Christmas shopping, then you have like Black Friday, like which is the day after Thanksgiving. So this is like the Black Friday period right now before the real buy-in starts. This is when you build that team chemistry and all of the above. But the honest truth about it is, the first 3 or 4 games are going to determine what that buy-in actually is and what it's going to damn look like. Because again, either the buy-in process, you're going to win and it's going to be good, or it's going to be tough and you're going to experience buyer's remorse. I'm telling you, man, those first 3 to 4 games are going to determine what the buy-in really is.
Yeah, Marvin, you know what? Whenever I hear about buy-in or standard, it's real small. It's real short to me and real simple. Win. When you win games, buy-in, you don't even worry about it. Standard is winning. Nick Saban used the word standard and everybody jumped on it and bought it and everybody's running with it. Yeah, the word standard means win. And if you're not winning, you ain't playing up to the standard. If you're not winning, you're not buying into the process. The process is winning. The standard is winning. Every other thing comes with winning. Losing, that's when you start pulling up a whole bunch of different names, words, and all that other stuff. But we'll see. The first few games aren't that tough. If we're worried about Bama beating Florida State, you're going to be going somewhere to Papa John's Bowl and hanging out in Birmingham for a bowl game.
Well, and that's the thing. We got Florida State and Wisconsin, 2 middle-of-the-road teams. Florida State, after last season, I don't even know if we can call it middle of the road at this point. But, I think we'll see a lot about this team and what their true desires for the season to look like will be determined during that stretch. Because, again, you go out and you dominate, like you said. You don't even have to talk by you. Everybody's on board. But you struggle, that's when you start to see and hear the rumbles, baby.
Man, there's a bunch of general manager questions going on this, man, Marvin. Get you another one. Go ahead, pull it up, Justin.
Is the GM responsible for retaining players already in the system or just recruiting?
Both. The best part of in the teams that actually won more games than lost, and the better teams like Ohio State and let me see, Texas, it's the retention of your team. The retention's what counts, because you don't want to go out every single year and sign 25 new players in the portal and out of high school, meaning that you're going to replace 50% of your team. You want to retain about 80 to 90% of your team if they're worth it. Now, if they're not worth it, you go ahead and replace them. But the recruiting side always tied into that. So as a roster constructive myself, it's a 2 R's: retain, recruit, develop, win. And when you're talking about the structure of an organization, it's real simple. The AD, your head coach, general manager, and quarterback. You have to have all 4 of those departments locked in. If all of those are locked in and you have continuity with all 4 of those, the AD understanding of the head coach's process, the head coach making sure that the general manager understands that process, the general manager understanding all 3 processes need to work, and you go out and you get your quarterback, now you can start building your team. But if you don't have all 4 of those in alignment, you're going to be going to the Papa John's Bowl. You might be going to the Reliant Quest Bowl, but you won't be playing in that Final 4 game.
But the thing about it, though, Coach,
go ahead.
Here's the thing, man. When you talk roster retention, okay, let's just look at college football as a whole. 85 scholarships, man. So every year you're going to lose so many guys every year anyway, just because their time is up, okay? You got these kids signed for 2 to 3 years, maybe 4 or something. It just depends.
Hey, man, you talk about some of those COVID kids, Marvin. You got kids in there for 6 years.
Well, we passed COVID now, so, but I'm just saying. And then you have the guys who are going to enter the portal. So you're going to lose more of those guys. it is hard to maintain the core of your team for a 2 to 3 year period in college football. It's damn near impossible. So whatever pieces you can hold on to, you damn well better hold on to them.
Right. Okay, we got two more. We got from Paul T. Go ahead and pull up Paul T's.
How long has the GM role in college football been around? I just started hearing about it from you guys this season. I know there was position coaches who assisted recruiting, but not GM. So the GM role actually started a few years back with the one and only Gerald Smoke Dixon, baby, the trendsetter.
You see it?
The first ever general manager in college
that left from the NFL
baby.
With NFL knowledge to come to college to make sure that you had two different sides of recruiting. I understood that this game was going to change. The transfer portal was the college side. The high school side was always remained the high school side, and those two worlds needed to be separated. I separated the two, created a salary cap, and now we have a personnel department that's being properly ran in most places. I don't think a lot of people can do it like I can. That's why I have my own consultancy business. Smoke V Dixon Management. Consult and construct and build your personnel department with the right players. There's nothing better than that. But listen, it started back about 4 to 5 years ago when the transfer portal truly started coming into an effect. But Nick Saban and Urban Meyer, they've always had a personnel department because both of those guys understood it, especially Nick, from the NFL model of understanding that assistant coaches truly can't manage games, players, recruiting, retention of players, the construction of your team, because the way that it works is we talked about the word ego. Each coach always wants to get their guys. So at the end of the day, who's the one that's separating ego and emotion from recruiting? That's where you had the personnel department come in. And the head coach and whoever it was, a DPP, whatever 3 letters that you wanted to give them, that meant the person that's in charge of your roster and personnel. He and the head coach would sit down and they would divide up the 85 scholarships, who they're recruiting, where they're recruiting, which coaches was going to go where, who was going to get offered, who had an offer that could be committable and who didn't have the committable offer. So to answer that question, I don't think coaches can coach, recruit, retain, develop, have relationships, be a good husband, be a good father. It's just too many things, and there's too many variables right now in college football to just assign it just to purely coaches and ask them to do the same thing, because it's a big billion-dollar business, just like the NFL. The NFL separates it with scouts, general managers, college directors, directors of player personnel, directors of pro, and your general managers, VP of football operations. So there's multiple layers within an organization that's not the same as it is in college. And college is a major business that's coming closer to the pro model. So yes, you need to have a general manager in a personnel role. Man, he's chat jumping crazy, Mook.
Hey, I see. What else we got? Is that it?
Nah, that's it, Justin? All right. So, Marvin, we touched on our guy Kirby, speaking of the general manager role and saying that he does not need somebody to come in and tell him how to run his team because he's done it for a long period of time. But he's also having issues with his players, not on the field. No, on the field, but also off the field. We know that his players are getting arrested at an alarming rate, but we're not going to touch on that because, like we said before, it starts at home. But he's now running to the issue of the modern day athlete not want to practice to the standard of what Georgia's always been. Now, he said the other day in one of his press conferences, he asked went to the team room, asked everybody to put their hands up if they practiced 3 consecutive days. And he said only a handful of players did that. Now, Marvin, that's shocking to you and I, because the standard that we know of and the standard that we know that Kirby is going to coach, because we've both been around Kirby, hell of a coach. The standard is learn, develop, practice, toughness, adversity, push through. If you can't push through practicing every single day, the 15 practices in spring ball. Marvin, what are we doing?
It's a tough slope, man, to have to navigate at this point, man, because again, you have guys worried about their value. They're worried about, preserving their bodies because again, they feel like this is how they make their money. So I don't want to do anything to get injured in the spring that could jeopardize my money. Then you have other guys who are committed to the process, man. And it's like, hey, man, we're here for a job. So at some point, you're going to see that division in that locker room. You're going to see things start to collapse from the inside out because, again, if everybody's not on the same page, and Kirby shouldn't be having buy-in issues at this point in his career. He's won, 2 national championships in the last 4 years, I think. At this point, man.
Back to back.
Right. So when guys go there, they should know this is the standard. This is what we're here for. Anything less than that is not acceptable. So
you would, Marvin, you would think that these guys understand that this is what it is, but you really, who are the players that you're recruiting? And again, it all starts back to what are you selling when you are recruiting these players? And when you have a lot of turnover in coaches wanting to recruit their guys, still recruiting off the old model of what Nick Saban had in his handbook or in his Bible, what they call it, players change. The rules have changed. Understanding of their value as players, Marvin, that's changed because players get paid year round, right? They don't get paid to practice. They get paid to play in games. Spring ball is not a football game. Spring ball is spring ball. So what I would implement within their contract, if I was a general manager that he does not have, I would put a spring practice incentive in their NIL contracts that they've signed. Because if you aren't practicing for me as a coach, so I can evaluate you as a general manager, then you don't get paid. So just like in the NFL, there's a workout bonus. And if you don't work out 90%, you don't get that bonus. If you don't have to, and it's not obligated within your contract to show up and practice during OTAs and minicamp. But if it's within your contract to participate in mandatory minicamp, you can put that in there. So you can do whatever you want with these contracts. You just have to be real creative. And again, if you're going off the old model and you don't have someone in-house that's educating you on these processes that's changing with these players, it's going to be tough for you to get what you want. But again, when you say, I don't need a general manager, I don't need help, these are the problems that you're going to run into. Everyone's running into the same problems, but they have creative people on their side that's helping them through this and battling through it. Go ahead, Marvin.
How many times have we seen a woman stranded on the side of the road with a flat tire talking about, I don't need help, still struggling 2 hours later to change that damn tire? Listen, understand where your weaknesses are in life, man. Embrace them, learn from them, and grow from them.
My man, Paul T. No, hey, Paul, you know what? I have not thought about being a general manager at Alabama because they have a good one. Courtney Morgan, real good at it. I think I'm one of the top ones at it. At some point, I might get back into it, but not today. I just like to share my opinion, just share my thoughts on Constantly Smoking. The more you tune in, the more you watch. Yeah, get my views up, get my guy Marvin views up, tell a friend, tell a company, go to church, tell everybody when you come out of church. This is where you come in and get that gospel in terms of talking about college football in the SEC and around America. But, Marvin, we got to get to this topic one more time.
I want to touch on this general manager thing.
Go ahead.
We didn't have GMs when we played, right? We didn't. And the one thing that I can say, had we had a GM, how much better our team would have been. Because
I agree.
Again, we won an SEC championship in '99 with the majority of our starters being freshmen and sophomores. And we only had 3 full classes there at the time. The class for 97, 98, 99. That's it. Because 96 was a probation class.
Right.
So we only had 3 full classes. So we were down on scholarship numbers. And I can pinpoint about a good 15 to 20 of those guys who were on scholarship who had no damn business done. I'm just going to call it what it is. Hey, listen, a waste of a damn scholarship. Let's just call it what it is.
Right.
had we had a general manager and we could have at least had 10 of those 20 to be decent players,
Right.
it would we probably would have won a national championship. So that's why having that general manager is important because yeah, you can recruit kids based on the old model and it's gonna be a hit or miss.
Right.
And most of the time that hit or miss is a 50-50 shot.
Right. And Marvin, it's always you have to sit back and evaluate your process as a general manager. Because everyone thought I was just evaluating building for the team in terms of players. I evaluated coaches. I evaluated support staff. I was more than just constructing a team. I construct the building because you have to evaluate everyone and pair the right coaches with the right players. Right. Case in point, just for an example, there are some coaches that aren't really good at recruiting, but they're very good at developing and teaching the game of football. So on that side, I would make sure that I put one of our better evaluators in the building as his assistant. So he would make sure and manage all of his recruiting and all of his evaluations, right? From helping him write his reports, helping him with his eyes on how to develop his eyes in terms of evaling, but also set up a system where he is recruiting at a high rate. So when my boss comes back at me and say, hey, why aren't we recruiting this position, say linebacker, and we are missing on X, Y, and Z, my job is to make sure that my boss never comes to me with that. Even though our linebacker coach sucked at recruiting, coach, he's a hell of a coach. But I have my strongest evaluator in the back room in terms of in our personnel department working with him. So you're going to get the best of both worlds. Right. And when we had personnel meetings, I made sure that I was teaching guys how to evaluate and just understand that when Coach Locks and I were deciding on players, it was just about Coach Locks and I. I involved everyone, position coach, area coach, coordinator, myself, and Coach Locks. We'll all sit in there, everyone, and we'll give our opinions. Whoever liked what they liked, we sat there, listened to it, debated. But at the end of the day, when we walked out of the room, I wanted to make sure that everybody understood that the reason why we're going this particular player is because he benefited the University of Maryland the best. Not me, not Coach Locks, not the area coach, not the position coach. He was the best player for us. And I think when you go through that process of understanding that it's more about us and not me, you get the better player. Now, if we all miss on that player, now we all say, you know what, it comes back to me because I'm the one and the final one that's making the decision. But at the end of the day, we went through our entire process of evaluating, recruiting, and making sure that that was the right player. Sometimes you hit, sometimes you miss. But if you miss with everybody, we all figured out why. Instead of one guy going in the back room saying, this is who I want, I got to have him, and so on. But Marvin, that's where the game is going. Now, Mook, we got to bring it back home. Our own Kalen DeBoer's press conference yesterday. A lot of food salad, word salad that really didn't make sense. But you know me, I am a decoder of press conferences, okay? And I'll give you a little bit I'll paraphrase a little bit of what happened yesterday. Though, go ahead.
This segment is brought to you by our good friends at Title Towel, baby. Make sure
you don't even have your Title Towel.
Title Towels, baby.
You don't even have it.
WhitWillSports.com, baby. Use that promo code STANDARD for that discount, baby. You see my man Gerald smoke Dixon with the Title Towel, baby. Make sure you have yours for this season because our coach, along with our general manager, is constructing a roster that better go ahead and kick some ass. I'm going to be questioning some things.
Now, Marvin, we had a lot of word salad yesterday from our guy, Kalen DeBoer. He started talking about our tight end, Quavis, being out for the spring. Then he went through and just started talking about the lack of depth in our tight end room. Now, to me, what does that mean when you sit a player out for the rest of the spring and you wait for him to come back and fall ball? If you're relying on a freshman to come in to be your number 2 tight end, we're going to be running a lot of 4 receiver type of sets. That's 10 personnel. And I think the way that he's been talking about the
All right,
receivers.
hold on. You got to
Go ahead, talk
explain
to
to
me.
them
Marv, you can run the ball with 4 receivers, but go ahead.
No. I'll say you got to explain to people what the 10 personnel is. One back, no tight ends. You got to let them know.
All right, so when you talk about personnel, you're always talking about running backs first. That's a first digit. Tight end, the second digit. So if there's 2 running backs, that'll be 21. If there's 1 running back, 1 tight end, that would be 11. If there's 1 running back, no tight end, that would be 10. If there's no running backs, okay, and there's 2 tight ends, that'll be 0 personnel. Okay.
Yeah, so I was just saying, get a peek because a lot of people don't know that. So I was like, let's at least explain that.
Hey, listen, Marvin. Sometimes I get going, and I think I'm talking ball to you. But like you said, you have to remember that there's people out there like who's the guy that you guys always bring on to tell me that I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. Oh
Justin
yeah,
Riley.
You're the guy.
Shot fired.
But yeah, so he also touched on our receiver room. And the comments that he gave, he said they're shutting down Ryan Williams. Thoughts on that?
Why? Why would you shut him down? Listen, man, if you're here to win a championship, man, timing, cohesiveness, these are important things, okay? And you only get so many practices in college football. You only get so much time on task at this, man. You better take advantage of these reps.
Well, you know what, Marvin? I remember going into my sophomore year, and we went through the same thing. A lot of us all we did was minimal during spring ball, and it hurt us so much. But when you were on the hopes of saying that you're going to win a national championship and you need players not to get hurt, that's where you miss the developmental side of it. Because last year when I saw Ryan, I thought Ryan needed a lot more practice, a lot more time on task. But within saying that they shut Ryan down, he did allude to the fact that they're going to move him around more. Instead of just leaving him at the Z or X, they're going to move him inside. And X means the receiver on the ball without a tight end. Z means the receiver to the side of the tight end that's off the ball, that goes in motion, and you can move him around. I think they're putting a game plan around Ryan, which I think is very important. When your best player needs to get moved around, you have to do that. And you have to teach that player different positions. So what I'm getting is last year, he didn't know the playbook that well. And there were times I went to a Vanderbilt game and he was told what to do from his coaches on the sideline on through to even the quarterback telling Ryan where to line up and what to do. For now, what coach is saying is that he understands the playbook a little bit better and they can scheme him up and get the ball to him. The next thing that coach was talking about was a new receiver, Isaiah Horton. And he said we didn't have a receiver like him last year of size, speed, playmaking ability. So right now, Isaiah Horton is our number 2, Marvin. I know we want to say Jeremy Bernard, but you don't go into the portal to get a number 3. Go ahead.
I'm not saying Jeremy Bernard, but what I am going to say is I seen Horton's comments about his time playing with Ty Simpson and that bond that those two have, from high school. So I get that. So, but the thing with that, even with Horton, you still need your number 1 receiver in the mix while you're working on the timing. You still need him, all 3 working together.
Marvin, like I told you now, you have to understand the modern day athletes.
I understand
some of these guys,
but hold on.
aren't built
I hear
to
what
practice every day of the week.
But just look at it like this. Okay, from a standpoint, if I'm working on timing and I want my number 2 to be in sync with my quarterback, if I'm holding my number 1 out, I'm just gonna call it what it is from a defensive player's perspective. We on the field. If I know Ryan Williams ain't over there, I already know who the number 1 is gonna be. So we're gonna put an emphasis on him. So that's going to take away from getting a true look of what it should normally look like. Because normally you would have that number 1 who would potentially command some type of double team. So now you're going to get the matchup you want with your number 2. But without your number one, that means your number two is automatically going to get the damn double team. So it's not what you're going to see during the season. It's not a realistic look.
Marvin, it's springtime. We ain't playing until August. Hey, Justin, go ahead and pull up Glenn Teague's question real quick.
Glenn, you are 100% correct. This is still the age that defense.
Man, ask the question before you start running your mouth, man.
I seen it in the comments. Do you think this is still the day and age where defense still wins championships? I'm not going to say it's the day and age where it wins a championship, but I'll say it's a 60-40 now, with the offense being 60% and that defense being 40. Because offenses, the way the system is set up now with this target and everything else, they have a lot more opportunities because it makes the defense a lot more gun shy, if you ask me, as well as, a lot more 4 and 5 wides, high tempo. You're seeing offenses run a lot more plays, so you're going to see points scored. But at some point, you need that defense to make some stops. It's not as in the old days where, you can hold them 6 or 7 points. No, but I still going to need my defense to hold you to at least 17 to 21 to give me a shot.
Yeah, Marvin, I 17-21, that's unheard of. That ain't happening anymore. But if you give up 30 points, you'll be happy. You'll be happy. 30, you're happy. The game is built for teams to score.
Yeah.
But what I would say is you still need your defense to be
60-40.
a top 5 unit. The last few years, if you watched, and I know you've watched, and you've seen teams that won a national championship, they were led by their defense, because you have to have a closer on your defense and an ability to stop teams when you need to. And stopping teams is giving up field goals. Stopping teams is creating turnovers. But the day and age of Alabama or Georgia holding teams to 7 and 10 points, I think those days are tossed out the window just because the rules have changed. The speed of the game, the way that the referees are calling the game, RPOs of allowing offensive linemen downfield, giving a screwed up look for linebackers and DBs. You think the ball is being thrown, but it's being ran. You think the ball is getting ran, but it's being thrown. It's just the game has changed, and it's more predicated for offenses to score. But you still need a top-level defense. I saw the Bama Standard throw out a very good comment, Marvin, and 2 things can be true. The best year that we both had in college, well, that's your best year, my freshman year, the year that we came in and allowed Bama to go to the SEC championship, class of 99, the best class since 2009 in Bama history, but that's a whole nother day.
How are y'all the best class in Bama history since 2009?
No. I said with the 2009 class.
No, you said
99, 2009. All right. So Sean Alexander didn't practice all spring, according to you. And I was there for spring, but I was also there for the summer. Sean might have practiced 3-4 times, and we went on to win the SEC championship and lose to Tom Brady at Michigan in the Orange Bowl, which Sean didn't play. So I understand what Coach DeBoer is saying. You just have to be careful. If it's the right player, yes. But also we have to remember that was Sean's 5th year, not Sean's first spring. So yes, Sean could do that, and he didn't practice because he's already been calloused up. He's already been experienced. He was already a vet. You aren't a vet when this is your first spring.
Exactly.
Not happening. Your first spring. This ain't it. So I do believe if he's hurt or injured, or if they're worried about his overall wear and tear level, hold him out. But if he's good to go and maybe his agents call and say he don't need to practice, I don't think that's the right way. But when you give somebody else time off, that means it's other players' time to come in and shine. And Coach DeBoer also alluded to Latsir Brooks out the receiver room showing up and balling. Rico Scott having an opportunity to come in and ball. So when you don't have Ryan out there, it makes the play caller more creative and give other receivers the opportunity to come out there and actually perform and ball out. Also, Moot, he went on and he started talking about the running backs. He didn't say anything that made me sit up in my chair and say, you know what, we have a guy. Coach has rambled on and he spoke about everyone. And whenever a coach talks, and just general and make general comments and it's real vague, you ain't nothing there. Nothing there at all. And I know Washington's there. You know, you got Cam that's there. You have the young boy Young that's there. All good. But to me, like I said from the beginning, this is going to be a tandem roll. And they're going to roll with the hot hand at any point. The good thing is you have different combinations of running backs. You have guys that are explosive in terms of being able to run outside. You have guys that have the ability to run inside. But as of right now, don't believe there's a clear winner in that running back room. And plus, Marvin, you know, when you go through spring ball and you're not going through tackle down to the ground, that's a tough look for running backs because running backs got to get tackled.
I mean, it's a tough look for running back, but here's my concern. Is our offensive line play going to be up to par? Because again, it's one thing when you have a guy who can make guys miss, who has that inside run ability, the outside run ability, because again, he's going to create things on his own. But when you don't have running backs who can do that, a lot of times last year, we've seen our running backs run straight into the backs of line or straight to the defense. So line's going to have to work extra hard to get them the type of looks that they need if it's the same product that we seen last year.
Because Caden Proctor's out as well too.
Right, but so we didn't have any running backs last year that would just hit the hole and boom, boom, and they out. We didn't have that. So with that line has to work overtime to make the run game look good. So I just hope that they're preparing that line for a long season, and they're going to truly do some mauling because, again, you know, like I know with Ryan Williams, defenses are going to bracket coverage him. They're going to try their damnedest to take him away. So in order to get him the looks you want, you know, in man-to-man, you have to be able to run the damn ball. If you can't run the ball and make them respect your run game with 8 men in the box, your pass game is screwed. So goes the run game, so goes the offense, man. So I'm just
right, but that's where Coach Kalen is saying that they're going to move Ryan around more. So you can't sit there and say, you know what, we can bracket him. We're going to put him in the slot. We're going to put him outside. We're going to move him around so much it's going to make the defense give you the structure that you want. And I think that's where Ryan Grubbs is coming in and implementing that. So now you're getting a light box. When I say light box, that means 6 or less guys within the tackle box, within the tackle, the 5 yards away from the ball. So you can create those run pass conflicts and run pass offense RPOs with Ryan Williams and Ty Simpson. Paul T, you got some good questions, man. I'll jump on this one for you, Marvin. It says Marvin and Smoke, do you think Jeremy Pruitt's defense was better at dealing with a mobile quarterback over Kirby Smart's defense? I'll answer that one first. I don't think either defense is built to stop a mobile quarterback. That's always been Nick Saban's kryptonite. And the reason why is because Nick Saban's defense is built for an NFL offense against 2 backs, 1 tight end situations, or 1 back, 2 tight end offensive structures. And the reason why they struggle against mobile quarterbacks is because in the NFL, rarely did you have to deal with the mobile quarterbacks. You just dealt with guys trying to run the ball, play action pass, and so on. Justin, go ahead and pull up the next question. Okay, from my guy Corey Lewis, what type of defensive tackles is the staff trying to bring in this year? Well, here's the thing, Corey. When you look at Bama's defense from last year to when Nick Saban was there, 2 different type of defenses. Nick Saban's defense was predicated on guys that were 6'4", 280 to 310, defensive linemen that could eat up blocks, and that's knocking guys back off the ball and making sure that linemen didn't get to the second level of your linebackers. With now Womack's defense, he's looking for more one-gap penetrators, meaning defensive linemen that are 6'2", quickness to get up the field and disrupt in terms of having a 4-down look instead of Nick Saban's odd 3-down defensive tackle look. So they're looking for more one-gap penetrators. Then we got some more questions, Justin. Go ahead and shoot them up. Eric, another good one. What would you bring it? What you bring in players? Okay, let me try to figure this out. We gotta type this out a little better. What would you bring in players like NFL? Yeah, Justin, I don't know what he's trying to get to, but I guess he's trying to get back into the glory days of the Nick Saban era.
Essentially asking,
players.
would you bring in Julio Jones and say Courtney Upshaw and Rolando as analysts?
I don't oppose of bringing in players like that, but being a former player does not necessarily mean that you can evaluate. Mm-hmm. And one of the hardest things to do is being a former player, going in and thinking that each player is going to be like you. For Rolando McClain, he's one of the best linebackers ever to play at Alabama. You're not going to have guys with his instincts. Julio Jones, I believe, is the greatest receiver of all time. To come in and think that every player is going to come out of his break, run as fast as Julio, catch like Julio, run through guys like Julio, I don't think you're going to be able to find that. So I'm always real careful of great players coming in and being coaches, because you have to be a good teacher of the game. And being a good teacher of the game does not necessarily mean that everyone could play like you.
Great answer. We got another one here from Joshua Haney. Not a GM question, but do you all think if they were worried about Ty Simpson not being able to get the job done, would they have went to the portal and got a quarterback until Russell developed enough to start?
Not a GM question, but what do you think? I think they have to believe. Just listening to Coach DeBoer yesterday, I think Ty Simpson's the guy for the job, and I think Ty is winning right now. I don't believe that Russell is up to speed yet with the offense, because it's an offense that you have to be able to function in terms of setting protections, checking in and out of run plays, understanding where to go with the ball, and as a freshman, it's tough. Mm-hmm. If you don't understand football and what your offensive coordinator is trying to get done, it's going to be difficult for you to operate in your true skill set to come out. Russell is a dynamic football player, but being a dynamic football player does not necessarily mean that you can operate the offense and get the ball to who they need to get the ball to. So, no, I don't think they needed to go out in the transfer portal, because when you do go out in the transfer portal, Justin, what happens is you're creating rift that doesn't necessarily need to be there. And sometimes you got to play this thing out. Maybe they believe in Austin Mack as being a true backup player, and you can give Russell his time to come in and play when it's his time, or they think that this can truly be a 3-man competition where Russell can go out there and compete against the other 2 veteran quarterbacks.
In case
you got some more questions, we can go ahead and shoot it.
In the previous scrimmage, Keelan Russell had 3 touchdowns, to one of those going to Derek Meadows. Saw a question earlier in the chat, so that little bit of an update as far as how he's doing in practice. We got Eric D. Will Alabama be able to retain all their running backs and wide receivers after the spring portal?
I don't think they're going to retain every single last one of them, because that's what the portal's there for. I think some guys are going to hit the portal. In terms of receivers, I don't think any of their receivers are going to. I think you might lose one. Who? I don't know. But when you're listening to the comments, and one of the bigger things that a lot of fans have been struggling with is information coming out of college buildings, because the head coaches have somewhat stopped, they stopped, because they're not even allowing as much information to come out their building like they once were before, just because of the transfer portal. But when you have 2 young guys like Latsier Brooks and Rico Scott and Derek Meadows that are coming on, and they're going to be involved in the game plan, the older veteran receivers, let's say Jalen Mbakwe. That's a name that we haven't heard. I'm not saying that he's going in the portal, but he's potentially a flight risk. And as a general manager, I would have to be aware of who are the guys that are on the flight risk list. He's a guy that I would put on my flight list just because I haven't heard his name. He switched positions. He's unsure of what he's going to do in college football. And whenever I ever had that type of feel about a young talent like that, he would always be on my list of players that I had to figure out, are they staying or are they moving? I want to know earlier than later. So the receiver coach and I at the staff table, we would have very, very harsh conversations about that room because we know that room was going to have to get disrupted at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Either Mbakwe stays and we figure out a role for him, or he leaves and we'll get crushed through the media and everybody in the chat saying that the best players in Alabama are leaving.
All right, Mr. Constant is back, so I'm going to jump off and let him get back into the phone.
That dude don't pay his man. Hey, Mook, you got to start paying that daggone internet bill, bro.
Man, I pay my bill, brother, but sometimes things in life happen. You got to deal with it.
Because you went in and out, and I was trying to my daggone computer screen kept on going out when I had to read that question about analyst players, but all good. Justin came in and saved the day.
Well, good. As cloud engineer, sometimes in that phone, you got to pick it up when things.
Man, whatever, dude. Listen, so let's keep going through and decoding what Coach DeBoer is saying, and let's jump on the other side of the ball, defense. He never really touched on the defensive line, but he came back and he was speaking about the inside linebacker position. Your position, Marvin. Not good. What I got from him is that our two linebackers that you start, Deontay Lawson and Jefferson, were both out, and they're the major and main communicators. They got the green dot on, and they're out. So they're coaching from the sideline. So the guy that we got in from the transfer portal from Colorado, he's a Maryland guy from St. Francis High School, our guy Hill. He's coming in, the Till Green Hill. He's coming in, and this is his first time of running this defense. And you and I both know when you are the main communicator and you are the leader of the defense, there's a lot of things that fall on your shoulders and a lot that you have to get done. And you can be a computer just like you were a couple of minutes ago. At some point, that computer gets overloaded. And there's too much going on. And do I check this? Do I check this run? Do I check into this pass rush? Do I check into this set? So right now, just listening to Coach DeBoer, they're struggling a little bit trying to find a number 3 linebacker. There's some young guys over there they're trying to work through. But I think that inside linebacker position, not healthy right now, has the University of Alabama in a little bit of a tizzy. Thoughts?
Linebacker to me is going to be the second most important position on the field behind quarterback, especially middle linebacker, because
in communicating, not
you're
having
to make those calls and adjustments. You have to know what everyone on that field is doing on your side of the ball, and you better have a damn good idea what they're doing on the other side of the ball based upon what you're looking at. There's so much information that has to be processed in such a short period of time, and I've seen it happen to some of the most athletic guys ever that tried to play middle linebacker, and they get moved to outside linebacker because they struggle with that processing part. Because again, if you struggle with that processing part, it tends to make you play slower because you're second guessing a lot of things. So your first step is going to be a little bit slower. You're not moving as in the speed and tempo that you need to because you're often confused because you're not able to process properly.
Right.
So I've seen that affect so many guys, man. And, for the guys who are just getting there, my heart goes out to them because I know how difficult that is, man. And not only do you have to know it, you have to have the confidence to make adjustments in the spur of a moment with no insight from anybody else. It's like, based upon what you've seen, what you were coached up on, you get motion, wide receiver step off on this side, you got to know what's coming, and you got to make the right call because nobody's telling you nothing, and usually you got less than a second to do it. It's a tough position to be in, and it's only cut out for a small percentage of the population, brother. It ain't for everybody.
Man, we got another question. I got this one, Marvin, from Tough as Nails. Go ahead, Justin. Why did they give Courtney Morgan a raise? Was he getting other offers? Why did they give Courtney Morgan a raise? He's one of the better general managers in the game. And when you have guys coming in like Mike Lombardi that's making $1.2 million, you have Jim Nagy that's getting close to where Courtney Morgan is. He deserves it. He's at the University of Alabama. They have the money. And yes, when their job's open and you're one of the better guys, you are going to get courted. And when you get courted, you're going to have offers that raises the floor, just like coaches. I think the general manager position needs to be in the millions, not the thousands in terms of getting paid. I think the baseline for a really good one should be 1.5 on up. If coaches are getting $10 million like Coach Prime just got, I think the general manager's floor needs to start getting pushed up closer to the 1.5 up to the 5 level in terms of millions. Now, we also, getting back to Coach DeBoer's press conference, the position that he's been really, really excited about, and I've been really excited about, the most difficult position to play athletically, the defensive backs. We know that De'Ami Jackson's out.
I thought you was going to say punter.
Say that again, Marvin.
I thought you was going to say punter.
I asked you to repeat that because I know you want to say it. But no, guys like Dejoun Lee been playing really good football, and we've been hearing about him making plays. Ivan Taylor, safety, that's been really impactful plays. But when you have receivers and you have DBs competing against each other every day, that usually is a recipe for success. If your receivers aren't worth a damn, your DBs aren't going to worth a damn. And the college game is being played on the outside. I know everybody wants to bring it back on the inside. I get it. It's important. I think it's truly more important than the guys on the outside. But inside, when I talk about inside, that's running the football. That's between the offensive line, defensive line, mid athletes, tight ends and linebackers. But the explosive plays are created between the receivers and the DBs. And the more explosive plays that you have, and you can stop explosive plays, that truly gives you the mark of success within your defense. And I think we've been doing a good job, from what I've read and what I've been hearing, of defending the ball, but also catching the ball when it's been thrown in terms of creating interceptions, but also the receivers going up and making plays. So it's always good to have good on good competition within the two groups, not one group just singularly just dominating practice. Now, the most important position that we all want to talk about is the daggone quarterbacks, Marvin. And I left that one for last.
Yeah.
I know you don't want to talk about it, but it's important. As of right now, if I had to put money on it, I would say Ty Simpson is going to be our starter coming out of spring ball. Now, you still have fall ball to go through. That is truly more important because that's when the entire team is there. But in terms of knowledge, vet, success, performance, comfort level, the offensive staff is more comfortable with Ty handling the entire offense. I think as of right now, Coach said Austin Mack has been getting some reps with the ones as well. I have a theory behind that. The only reason why Austin Mack's getting reps is to keep him engaged. Because if you put him with the threes, we just had a really good question in the chat of would our number 3 leave? I think Austin Mack would leave and hit the portal if he's running with the threes. So you have to give him reps with the ones just to make sure that he's engaged and he believes going into fall ball that he still has a chance to compete to at least be the backup. Because if you put him with the threes, you got a young 5-star coming in that's running with the ones and the twos. Ty already has that number 1, quote unquote, starting level already there. Yeah, the next thing for him to do is leave because Ty has 1 more year. Keelan Russell has 4 more years. Yeah, you could do math, Marvin. Ty goes out, Keelan comes in, Mac, you never play. So you got to keep him engaged.
I mean, even if they keep him engaged, Smoke, I really think he's not gonna stay.
Yeah, if he starts, we're gonna suck.
No, but I mean, I don't think he's going to stay at Alabama either way after the spring. I think he sees the writing on the
I agree
wall,
with that,
and he understands, that the deck is stacked against him. And I really think he leaves after this spring.
Yeah, I was asked the other day on the opening kick, what player of the SEC would hit the portal first in terms of the quarterback position? And I said Austin Mack. Just because I know that you have to get the young freshman ready to play. But it's always you always have to be careful on how you do that. If you do that and say Ty's running the ones, Keelan, you're running with the twos, Mac, you're running with the threes. Yeah, Mac can read the writings on the wall. But if you massage it the right way and you frame it the right way and you create an open competition all the way through, you say, okay, Ty, we're going to give you reps with the ones and the twos, split it with Austin with the twos and the ones. And young guys, since you don't know the offense, there's no threes anymore in college football. We'll give you the second reps with the twos and give you the last reps with the ones. So when you break it all down, everyone's having, quote unquote, the same reps, Marvin. But as coaches, as evaluators, we know who we're truly looking at that we want to be running with our ones.
And I'm pretty sure he has the NIL agent somewhere in his ear telling him, hey, if you really want to maximize yourself, it won't be at Alabama.
Yeah, Marvin, I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. If Austin Mack has an NIL agent and that agent is telling him anything other than chill out, relax, go through the process of spring, and let's find a home for you, then he has bad representation. We haven't seen him play. He's bound. This will be his. If he does leave, this will be his third school. If he wants to get on the football field, he'd have to transfer down and drop down in terms of competition, because it's hard to evaluate someone, especially at the quarterback position, that we haven't seen play at all, and we haven't.
You know, like I know, the deck is so stacked against him. He playing spades with a handful of hearts and diamonds, brother.
And we ain't playing hearts.
We're playing spades. And I don't think he has any spades.
Not at all. So Marvin, listen, we can switch this up just slightly. You said earlier that you were watching basketball yesterday, the Final Four. I don't know why you're watching the Final Four, because you can't play basketball at all. That jump shot looks so broke. Your elbow's out, your elbow ain't in, and you don't look like you've ever. I've seen you shoot a basketball. You're going to have to tell the chat, if you played basketball, what position would you play and how many points would you average?
Power forward, and I would average 15.
Hey, you 6'1".
15 to 10 a game, baby. Be like little Charles Barkley out there.
Man, Charles can shoot and dribble. You can't shoot or dribble.
I'd average 15 and 10, baby. Hey, don't listen to Smoke. He a hater.
You would have Marvin. I think he would average 15 and 10 on a 9-foot rim against players that was 5'7" and under. I don't think
the hate is real.
Well, we used to go to the rec. You were terrible.
The hate is real. Well, I tell you, it's haters everywhere you go. I'm telling you. Hey, that's all right, though.
Hey, I love Marvin's competitive nature as well, but he can't hoop, man, at all. So Marvin, spring is coming to an end. What do you want when you do pull up down there in 8-day weekend and you watch a live practice? What are you trying to see? What position do you want to see be improved the most? And walking away from 8-day, what do you want to walk away saying?
First and foremost, Eric D, you are a hater. I just want you to know that. You are the biggest hater of all time.
Why is he a hater?
2 points and 1 rebound per game? Come on, bro.
That's the truth.
So you saying I'm not even gonna be on the court for real.
Yeah, he's saying the same thing. He said, if I'm looking at you and you shooting a jump shot like that, like Marvin, your elbow, like it looked bad. That looked bad. But go ahead.
You and Eric can kick rocks, but no, my 8-day expectations, man. More than anything, I would want to see the defensive line, man. Can we establish some type of pressure? Are we holding up at the point of attack? Because to me, that was our weakest point last year, that defensive line. I think we were often, defeated at the point of attack. I don't think we did well at all in terms of pressures and getting sacks. And that's why I need to see the most improvement, followed by inside linebacker play. Because you can't be weak at the point of attack and have piss poor inside linebacker play. That is a recipe for disaster, man. So that's what I want to see more than anything, those two areas of improvement. I want to see our offensive line get back to mauling people, being physical. I know we probably won't get back to the 2009, 2010, 11 type of
Damn, y'all got to stop going back in the past.
I know we're not going to get back to that. But I'm saying at least give me some semblance of, hey, we're here to pose a threat. We're not just here to hope and pray we stop somebody. Pose a threat as an offensive line. That's all I'm saying, man. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Marvin, you know what? This is what I've understand about college football right now. I know that spring means absolutely nothing. Spring means absolutely nothing just because everyone's trying to protect. They're trying to protect their players. Players are trying to protect themselves. So you're not really getting a true indication of what the team is going to look like, because there are players that can also impact your team that aren't there. And you also have another portal to go through. So individually, what I would want to see in Tuscaloosa, and not looking at it from a team standpoint, because what you said was true, but I know that this is not the defensive line that you're going to play with. This is not the same rotation that you're going to play with. The offensive line, your best offensive lineman is not practicing because he's hurt, right? So I want to see Ty Simpson being able to command the offense. And when I mean the offense, run the offense. Make the necessary throws to whoever's out there. I want to see the defensive backs being able to play tighter man coverage when asked, and also understanding how to play zone coverage. And when I mean play zone coverage, we all know that there are issues within the zone and there's weaknesses in the zone. Allow those weaknesses to show up, but when they make throws in an area that you're supposed to defend, those have to be interceptions or incompletions. Also, like you said, I want to see what we look like up front in terms of technique. Are we getting into the backfield and being disruptive? Are we controlling the line of scrimmage? And that doesn't necessarily have to be in a group. That just means individual play. Are we going to walk away from that spring practice, because it's not a spring A-day game anymore, the spring practice, and saying that we see a player or two, and I'm trying to run through the roster of saying who are going to be the player that can pass rush? Is it LT Overton? Is it Keanu Neely? Is it Edric Hill? Who is it that is going to provide any type of pass rush? Is it Quay Rousseau? Is it Yonsei Pierre? Who is it going into this year? Are we going to see improve their technique? They all have talent, but talent and technique equals production. And that's not what we saw last year.
Somebody needs to step up and do it.
Man, Marvin, maybe you need to go out there and instruct them, man.
They don't want me. Listen, I can't do this new age coaching. They too soft, man.
Man, listen, Marvin, and on that note, we're going to have to check out, because you go again into that soft and tough and lifting weights, and that's the only way that you get. Stop it. Knock it off.
I was raised by an old school dad who dropped out in the 8th grade because he had to go work the farm, brother. So listen, and he raised me the same way his parents raised him. It wasn't nothing nice about that childhood, brother. I was raised to be a man from the earliest of ages.
Man, hey Glenn, man, I gotta give hope to somebody with something out there that can pass rush. I gotta try something, man. I gotta try something. I haven't seen it, and that's where the recruiting part of it has fallen apart a little bit for Bama. And Bama fans, we can't blame Courtney Morgan for last year's team, but we can understand that his impact moving forward on this year's team is truly on their hands now, because you can change your roster with transfer portal. That's the beauty of it. Listen, Mook, check us out, man. Get us out of here, bro.
Hey, man, hey, we got Justin throwing questions up still.
Oh, okay, Justin, go ahead. Was the 2000 season a wreck because of offensive coaches?
The
I'm
2000
just
season was
asking.
a wreck because of everything across the damn board, from
Yeah,
the
there you go.
coaches to the players. Everybody contributed. Listen, that ship had 1,000 holes in it. Listen, it didn't. It was gonna sink regardless of what happened. So
Go ahead, Justin. Go ahead. Come on, more
it was over.
Do you think our defense is set up to stop mobile quarterbacks?
Here's the thing about it. I'll take this one, Smoke. I don't know, because we don't know what our defense is going to really look like, to be honest with you, because last year we heard was we going to attack, we biting people, we downhill, we got Huskies, we got Wolves, we got Pitbull. Listen, here's the bottom line. If you blitz heavy, we all know that if you have a mobile quarterback, he always has a chance in pressure packages. All you have to do is find one hole, because if you're blitzing on the front end, what are you playing on the back end? Man to man in most cases. So those DBs have their backs turned and they're running. So again,
Glenn, the greatest equalizer in college football is a mobile quarterback. Unless you have a guy on defense that can track and stop him, that means one elite player at the linebacker position that can run. Yeah, that's the only chance that you have. And unless your defensive line is so disruptive that you have one guy that commands two guys to block him all the time, you're never going to create the advantages to stop a mobile quarterback. Players over plays. Any latest news? Yeah, the days that we're hearing about everybody. Here's the beauty about spring. They're taking out the beat writers out of it, and all we're doing is most of the time getting inside information. As long as we know about it, he's competing, and he's playing and he's trying his best to be what we hope that he was going to be when he got recruited out of high school. But until you show up on game one, Marvin, and actually make plays against another helmet, that's when it counts. Spring ball, everyone's doing great. They're all getting better. And like I said, it's word salad.
Yeah,
We have to see him go out there and actually play against an opponent and make plays.
All right, is that it, Justin? All right, boom. And don't forget tonight, 7 p.m. Central, talking Bama, baby. Tune in on the Bama Standard. Man, listen, they always going to get your week off to a great start, man. Great cast, great crew, great topics, baby. But outside of that, that's all we have for you today. Again, until next weekend, baby, constantly smoking. We out.